After COVID, lots of people were saying, the world's different, I'm going to change, I'm going to move. We lost 7 employees. 7 employees very quickly. Some long-termers were going away, we're going to work for this company and that company. Within a year, I had 6 of those employees that left come back.
Every little thing, if you can just do it 1% better, then over a period of time, the compound effects of all that is staggering.
Yeah, we can build new bays and we can put new sheds up. Brilliant. But if you don't have staff to fill them, you're pointless. So that we're doing what we're doing. Again, it goes back to that continuous improvement. You know, every day make facilities you work in every wee bit better. Every day make the people who work in those facilities a wee bit better. As long as you do baby steps, you know, walk before you run, then everything comes in the journey and you get yourself to where you want to be.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Best in Class, the podcast. Absolutely delighted this week to have Stephen Hendry with me. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, Martin. I really appreciate it.
No worries. So we had a chat quite a few months ago, really, and you're an incredibly interesting guy. I mean, your background, I think if I recall, you started out in accountancy, ended up kind of going to a family business, then kind of real diversity of role and operations standing from that. We can't talk about this isn't a biography, sadly, but you are a super, super interesting guy from that conversation we had last time. But what I want to do today is really kind of talk about your business, Cairnhill, and there's a number of, again, we were just talking before we started recording, there's so much we could kind of uncover within the business, but we're just going to kind of try and focus on one area. I think what we're going to try and look at for you is kind of the concepts around continuous improvement with the business. So before we kind of jump into it all, do you just want to kind of do a quick introduction of yourself, the business, what you do, how long you've been, just that kind of little background for benefit of the listeners, provide context?
No problem. So I'm Stephen Hendry. I'm the Group Managing Director of the Watson Towers Group. Cairnhill are one of those companies. Cairnhill is £30 million a year turnover company, employs circa 200 people, predominantly in very secure environments, high barriers of entry, nuclear, defence, atomic weapon, renewables, etc. We have been on the go since 1971. We are a growing company, continuous improvement, and we are always looking at the next avenue of what we can do to add on to for this continuous organic growth.
Okay, and where in the world are you?
So we're based in, our head office is based in Sunworks. Sunworks is a 150-odd-year-old facility. We made munitions in First and Second World War. Watson Towers Group, 1990, and we have various different satellite offices throughout the country. We have a satellite office in Bristol that is obviously set up many years ago to support our works that we do in and around Hinckley. We are just in the midst of opening up another satellite office in Ipswich. And again, that is to do with Sizewell Power Station that we are fortunate enough to be awarded 2 jobs on in the infancy of that project, and it allows us to grow. And we used to have an office in and around Cumbria, but as the work at Sellafield is not quite as much work around that area as there once was, we have moved out of that and tried to concentrate where they put your resources where they need to be.
Fair enough. And where are you?
So right now I'm based in Coatbridge. That's our office. But where am I? Every day of the week is somewhere different. I travel. I spend lots of time in planes, trains, and automobiles. Every week I'm somewhere different. My PA will tell you that my diary is a disaster because I always say yes to everything and accept all meetings and requests, and I end up trying to figure out how I'm going to be in 2 places at one time. But we always manage. We always get there.
Having spoken to her, she's a genius. So I think she's wonderful. Wonderful.
She's got a hard job, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think they all have, all VAs and PAs. I mean, one of the things that really kind of stuck out to me when we had our first chat was you work in steel manufacturing. It is in the UK. It's an industry that is struggling. It's receding. It's It's not where it once was. But I think it's very powerful to say that you're a growing business in a industry that is struggling. And I think part of that must come into this kind of continuous improvement thing. So let's just kind of jump straight into it. So around the kind of the continuous improvement piece, can you give me some kind of examples of what it is? I guess why is the business, that's probably a really good place to start actually. Why is the business succeeding in an industry where others are failing?
I think that there's many different facets to why we are different from others. I think if we take it way back, and I joined the business in 2013. We had a good history, we were established, we were doing reasonably well. First things you look at is probably what work, what environments, where are we working, what we're doing. Is there profit at the end there? How many people are vying for the same type of work? What can we do different to make us stand out? And then you probably go and say, right, let's look at the workforce. Who do we have? What is our resources? What can we claim we can do? What can we actually do? And then you start at that and you look and you see. And every manufacturing company in the UK, every engineering company in the UK, if you look at the dynamic and the demographic of the workforce within the shop floor, the vast majority will be closer to retirement than they would be their school years. We struggle significantly with a skills gap nationwide. I wrote my dissertation in 2010 on the issue that we're all having in regards to trying to find suitable labour, skilled labour. So one of the first things that we did was we looked and we said, labour, I was in the place 2 weeks when we did retirement. Somebody had been here for 20 years retiring, you've lost them. So let's start an apprenticeship scheme. To the extent that we started an apprenticeship scheme, started 3 young kids on the journey. 2 still work with us now. 1 left and come back. The other 1 left, come back, and left again. It's not with us. And the 3rd one has been here, that whole period of time. Is now actually a welding inspector with us. Is now actually heading up a new division that we've got, standard quality inspection, and we're looking at where they can go. From that, we then look at all different facets of the business, the whole group. We need to do this group wide. We need to look at who can we add in, when can we add in, without making it too many apprentices. You must do it slow but sure. And we done that, we added in. We then discovered this is great, but as always happens, we train all these young kids up. Some are, adult apprentices, we train them up, and they've suddenly got all this skill set, and they say, well, I can go and work in Devonport Dock, and I can make an extra £10 an hour, and I'm willing to travel. So you lose them. So you then say, okay, that's fine. But what you then subsequently found out was these young people who we taught up were going other places. They're going to BA, Barrow, Devonport, but they're telling other people who had travelled their whole life, this is a good company. They're actually looking after you. So we ended up getting people who said, look, I miss my kids growing up. I want to see my grandkids growing up. And we ended up getting people 50 plus coming to the factory working for us. And then we ended up getting other people who worked in those, facilities, dockyards, come and work for us in Hinckley and AWE sites that we've got. So it was great. So all of a sudden you're saying, well, okay, I trained them. I've lost them, but they're actually bringing other people in. And then, to be fair, a lot of them actually come back to us. So it was great.
That's really fascinating. I've never heard that before, and it's such a good way of looking at it. Of going, look, you want to train them up, you want to keep them, but you're gonna. There's always going to be a degree of kind of attrition through it. Okay, what's the best case scenario out of that? Well, actually, if they're then advocates for us out in the field and the wider marketplace, to where we don't have reach and we don't have feelers, well, if they can endorse our company within an industry where you require those skills, the best you can do is be recognised on the front line as a great employer, because, as you say, you just don't know what the future may hold for other people. So that's very interesting.
It's amazing. And again, this continuous improvement.
Powerful.
So even that,
it's very powerful, isn't it?
So I think it's good, and after COVID, I'll go give you 2 stories. After COVID, lots of people were saying, the world's different, I'm going to change, I'm going to move. We lost 7 employees. 7 employees very quickly. Some long-termers were going away, we're going to work for this company and that company. Within a year, I had 6 of those employees that left come back. I could attain 7 out of 7, but one actually, it probably suited both parties just to leave it that way. So that's great. So we're doing something right. If people want to come back to us, brilliant. But then you're looking and saying, all this is great. We need that's got us to where we are. What do we do next? We're now talking to New College Lanarkshire, Scottish Engineering, and Scottish Enterprise to come up with a new scheme called the Cairnhill Pathway, which is 2 blocks of 18 weeks, 2 semesters of 18 weeks, carried out between the college and their facility. We will train 14 young adults each semester, and after the 2 semesters, you'll have kids or young adults who are available to actually go in to a fabrication engineering facility and actually hit the ground running and be a valuable member. Now, we can't take 14 on. That's not possible. We'll take 4 out of every class. But what that then means is we're talking to Scottish Engineering, who I'm actually a mentor for, so I do mentoring for them. But Scottish Engineering have got a great membership. They can say, right, okay, can I look at this Cairnhill Pathway? Here's 10 kids that they can't use. Can you use them? But they'll be trained in machining, fabrication, metrology, welding, be coded and trained. And we'll finance all that because we know 2 things. We'll get some of the better ones from each cohort. We'll then get the other kids going away and saying, son works, Cairnhill, great place to work. Tell people who we are. So you're actually let people know you're a good company, you're a good employer. So that helps. And then through it, what you're actually also getting is people are understanding they're trying to do something. They're not just resting their laurels and saying, we'll wait for somebody to close their doors and we can then get their, the scraps of the table or whatever else. We don't want that. We're trying to create our own staff, knowing we can't do it very quickly. We've been on the journey that we've been on now for 12 years. But in 12 years' time, we'll be creating our own teams. And that'll allow us to continue with the growth that we're doing. Continue to let us, we can build new bays and we can put new sheds up. Brilliant. But if you don't have staff to fill them, you're pointless. So that by doing what we're doing, again, it goes back to that continuous improvement. Every day, make the facilities you work in a wee bit better. Every day, make the people who work in those facilities a wee bit better. As long as you do baby steps, walk before you run, then everybody comes on the journey and you get yourself to where you want to be. And, you'll hear my stupid sayings every day here, I've heard a million times. But if we keep improving a wee bit every day, then it's brilliant, because the minute we get to the precipice at the top of the hill, the mountain, whatever it may be, there's nowhere else to go, bar down. So we'll continue going up, and we're probably Kilimanjaro at the moment, we'll keep going to Everest and just keep going every bit, make sure we get that bit better every day. And as long as everybody's got the same ethos, and it's hard, but most people in here now are on the same page, and we all see it, and that's why we get loads of suggestions to make us better. We get lots of ideas. Everybody's got a voice, and as long as everybody's got a voice, then that helps you get where you need to be.
Well, years ago, I came across the kind of 1% marginal gain kind of theory, and I was as soon as I heard it, it resonated with me. It made so much sense of just every little thing. If you can just do 1% better, then over a period of time, the compound effects of all that is staggering. And it, we're not going to talk about it. Anybody listening can just easily go and kind of find that. There'll be tons of content on YouTube and everywhere. And one of the things that I liked when we spoke months ago is you mentioned even when you go out on meetings yourself, you'll be waiting in the reception room and you'll be looking around and taking inspiration from, what's their layout of their reception like? What's their engagement with me like? How are they meeting and greeting people, even at that kind of just initial phase? And you're taking as much inspiration as you can out of visiting other companies and seeing how they do it different to you, and then kind of taking some of those ideas and bringing them back. And it doesn't always have to be that kind of, you spoke very much then about kind of joining the company and almost doing like an audit of, okay, well, this is the people that we've got, this is how we operate, and it's in a kind of audit of the business. You don't always have to look internally. A lot of your best ideas can come from externally. And you gave me a nice example, as you just said. you kind of push it out onto everybody, don't you? So
Uh-huh.
you're kind of saying to the whole workforce and incentivizing them to a degree of, look, guys, don't just let this sit with the directorship of us driving the, what could be better and how can we improve it. But a lot of the best ideas are going to come from you guys. You're doing
Yeah.
that. You're all specialists in your own little area, and if we can improve all of your little areas by 1% every week,
Mm-hmm.
imagine the impact over a course of a year. So do you want to just kind of talk a little bit about how you get the workforce to do continuous improvement?
So, give you some examples. So, again, we call it a journey. You're on a journey, and everywhere we go, and we go as teams, or we go as one singular, or whoever it may be, we go out and we get in a place, and we look and we see, like, drive into the car park, the signage. Look at how good it is. You just get an impression about places, and everything's about first impression. You then go into the meeting room. What have they got? How's it set up? And everything that's in our whole facility has came from somewhere else. And I've pushed that for the first 4 or 5 years I came here. And then people start to say, well, where did that idea come from? Oh, I seen that when I was visiting this site. Or I seen that when I was, away looking in Italy, looking at this machine, whatever it may be. And we then looked and said, right, okay, it can't just come from one or two people. We need loads of people doing the same thing. So we then went and said, right, senior management, there's 10 of us, meet once a month, let's get it minuted, let's look at what we can do, and let's allocate the 80 or 90 things that we're doing at the period against those people. And that was great. Started that. Probably within a year, we said, do you know something? We need to bring in a sub-management committee. So bring in another 15, 20 people below that and say to them, flow the workload down and try and get them. And what we've got is the leave process, the appraisal process, everything is all came from sub-management. We then get out a newsletter and tell everybody about everything we do. And the example that you're talking about there was every month, as part of the management meeting, we get through the suggestion boxes. There's one in the office, there's one in the factory, and there's obviously an online one for the sites. And we get through them one by one, and everybody comes up, and the majority of things that you get is somebody will say, when I used to work in X, they had this and it worked. I used to do this when I worked in a previous employer, they done that. And the one this month, we reward everybody that comes up with a good suggestion. But the one that stuck out in the suggestion in the month this month was, as part of the Scottish Regional BCSA, British Construction Steel Association meeting, we had a tour of Highland Galvanisers in Cumbernauld. And it was a very simple visual aid where during the tour, they'd a picture at the end of the bay, the workshop, and it said, here is good housekeeping, best practice, and here is what it should be like and what it ends up. And what you had was the exact same picture of the bay, but one day was due pre-audit, one day was normal working. And what the management were saying was it should be the pre-audit condition all the time. All this guy did was simply take a picture and say how good that visual aid worked, put it in the suggestion box, great suggestion. But what he's done is bringing another idea from another, engineering company and saying, that's really good. It's very simple. It's easy to implement. And then, bringing that to us. That's all we need, and we need everybody to go in the same sort of mindset, same idea. As long as we do that, then we're all getting to the stage where we're all pushing to make us better. Very easy. Workplaces are so easy to go and just take your wages and don't care, get paid. But if you feel part of it and feel as if you've got a voice, then you can become very much somebody who can lead that charge in making you better.
So I've got kind of 2 points around that really. So I mean, suggestion boxes have been around, since you and me were little boys,
Yeah.
and they don't really exist anymore because for me, I feel they're always kind of, there's a degree of cynicism. They're almost kind of like the butt of jokes, and sat in the office, oh, put it in the suggestion box when there isn't a suggestion box. It's
Yeah.
and that's the way I've always experienced it, just as like a comical misreference almost. And it's interesting to find that you kind of actually deploy those and utilize them. So I'm interested, is it uptaken well? Is it a bit of a kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, or actually do people seem to buy into it? Do you consistently have suggestions to kind of go, are you opening it up every month and actually it's empty inside, or are there suggestions in there? And then my second question is around the culture that you created for this. You said everyone's bought into it, and it feels as though for the 1% continuous, or just to have continuous improvement, I know it from the kind of 1% marginal gains kind of side of things, but to have just that mindset, you've got to have everybody on board. Otherwise, you've got a few people are doing it and you're getting a few improvements, but the whole business isn't going to move forward unless everybody's on that journey. So, part A is how have you got the suggestion box thing to actually work and do people do it? And part B is how have you created the culture to get everyone bought into this idea?
So very simple. I mean, what we did was you put suggestion boxes in, and to start with, the uptake is nil. Why put it in? Nothing will ever change. It'll always be the way it's always been. They're not interested. It's us and them, So every week we have a weekly stand down where we talk about health and safety, new toolbox talk that's relevant, anything that's changed in the workplace. It's half an hour where we give everybody a voice to say, and it became very apparent that, we kept saying every week, look, guys, the opportunity, let's have a look here, put in your, what can make us better. You know it better than everybody else. You're in the coal face, you know it. And it didn't take. So then what happened was one or two started coming through. And we did a very simple thing. And it was, you said, we did. So you've asked, that's what we did for it. And you record every single suggestion, even the ones that are maybe not the best, but you record them and you give an explanation of what you've done or why you've not taken that suggestion on. And by doing that then people then said, wait a minute here, if I put something in here, two things. One, if it's a good suggestion, I'll actually get a voucher for my good suggestion. Somebody's giving me something for just literally giving my 2 bobs worth and putting in a box, writing down a bit of paper. 30 seconds can generate me 50, 20. The biggest one we ever paid out is £500 because it's a good suggestion. So you pay out and you're actually saying, thank you for that. That will make us better. So then people are saying, by me knowing that something will make it better, by me knowing that putting it in there, then I'm going to get something back, personal gain. But more importantly, I know that I've put that in, there's my suggestion, and there's what the company's done. And we've actually, I go out probably once a month to Toolbox Talks and talk to guys and say, there's nothing you've ever came to me that's been a good idea that we've never done. Because you know the place better than I'll ever know it. You then go to the office, and simple ones. Can we have a fruit bowl? You want a fruit bowl? It's great. It's healthy, it's there. We provide all these other, snacks, tea, coffee, juice, and whatever else in the meeting rooms. So put a fruit bowl in. But because everybody knows you're listening to them, that gets you their attention. That gets their buy-in because they know that it's not just got to be wasted. It's not got to be, I'll put it in, nothing will ever happen. We're actually doing it, and that's what I keep saying. There's never been a suggestion that's went in that we've never done. Does it happen as quick as what everybody wants? No. Everything takes time. Somebody needs to be allocated that action. Somebody needs to own that, and then they need to go and maintain it. But by doing that, what we've done is people know that it's not wasted. They're not wasting their time. The company wants to listen to them. But we want the mentality that we want people to come to their work. We want people to wake up and say, I don't mind going to my work. They try and make it better. And everything, car parking's our current, number one issue because we get so many cars and the day shift's a nightmare. We built over the weekend more car parking spaces. Something simple makes everybody's life that bit easier. But, car parking's a nightmare. Okay, let's get a plan. Let's put in more car parking. And we've done it, and literally we built a big car park extension about 6 months ago. And in day one of it opening, day one, we overran it. The car park extension that was meant to future-proof us, we overran it. We're in office extension number 4 now. We can't keep building more offices without putting more in. But by doing one thing to improve us, we create another problem. But the secret is there's always a solution. We'll always come up with an answer. There's always a way to get by what the next problem is going to be or the next opportunity is going to be.
Yeah, I think the takeaway for me from that was, make them feel like they have a voice,
They
but
have a
that
voice.
voice is heard as
Hmm.
well. Because no point in having a voice and not feeling heard by it, and making them feel like the company is their company just as much as it's yours, and it's breaking down that kind of them and us barriers
Yeah,
that do happen. As much as people don't want them to exist, the them and us thing is gonna be in existence. It
it's human
is.
nature.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. One of the things we spoke off air about as well, you were talking about implementing this, absolutely across the board, even into your kind of supply chain, looking at a kind of customers and things like that. Just how do you kind of integrate this kind of continuous improvement, not only into your kind of your own operations and taking inspiration to what we do, but how do you then drive that kind of concept into your supply chain or your customers as well?
So I think the simplest way for that is people who look externally in have an impression. And a lot of our supply chain will certainly come and visit our head office at Sunworks. So they come in and they see what we have done and they like it. And they ask, why have you done this? Why have you done that? But also, a lot of our competitors look at what we are doing and say, well, their staff retention is good. They're making improvements. They must be doing something right. So then they try and not copy, but they look and say, what can we take from that to make it better? I can't argue with that because that's a sign of flattery. So because our supply chain see that, they then say, what are you doing? We then audit the most important suppliers. Every 2 years, maximum every 2 years, we'll audit major suppliers. And we'll send our team down there and we'll talk about, let's see what you're doing now. But part of that is, well, this is what we did to overcome that problem. This is what we did that helped us solve that issue. And we then talk and say, because we want our supply chain to be the best that they can be. We don't want them to be, excuse me, try to smart. We don't want them to say, oh, Cairnhill are getting better, but we're never getting any better. We want to say, well, we've got better. We've learned from this. So why should they not learn from it? Why should they not get? Because our supply chain is every bit as important as our labour.
Yeah.
No, without one or the other, and as I keep telling everybody every time I go and see them, you are as important as me. Because I can't do my job without you. I can't do my job without a supply chain we can trust. So there's no point in making our facilities better, making our team the best version of themselves they can be, and have a supply chain that's never get any better, stuck in the dark ages, and really we've outgrown them. Because see, with that doesn't help anybody. You must bring them along the journey with you, and we're quite good at that. We talk to the supply chain, we encourage them to come here. Many people don't like people coming through their doors and their signs up at the door. No unsolicited visits, no X, Y, Z. I told you earlier on, I will see anybody that comes through our door. I'll make time, I'll find a way. If I can't be there, I'll get somebody, another member of the team. I want people to come here and I want to go and see them. The only way that we'll get better is by seeing other things, other people, and the only way that people will understand who we are is by getting in and being part of it. So our supply chain are encouraged to come to us because that's going to let them see who we are and let them
And it's
see that,
and it's going to
you know,
benefit
yeah,
you in the longer term as well,
it's
isn't
going to
it?
benefit us, because if they see who we are and who we're becoming, then they know where we were and where we are now, and they know where we're aiming to. So the very nature of that, they then want to be part of it and they want to support it because if we're growing, we'll give them more business.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation. And realistically, there has been some casualties, shall we say, in our supply chain that we no longer could go along the journey with. They were not they were not somebody that we wanted to be associated with because they did not want to improve. They did not want to spend any money on their staff or their facilities. Well, that's great. That's your decision, but we can't continue with that. We must, as a company, look after us first and foremost, look after our staff, look after supply chain. But everybody needs to choose and make a choice. I want to be part of it, and if they don't, we can't help that.
Yeah. Cool. Fantastic. We're running out of time, so I'm going to go to the very, very end now. So
Yeah.
my last guest was Paul Dawson, and we have a tradition of the last guest leave the next guest a question. So Paul
Uh-huh.
has left a question for you, which is, Who or what has shaped your own leadership style and why? So, I know you're a very, very fascinating leader from our previous conversation a few months ago. So I think this is a very appropriate question for you almost. So yeah,
Mhm.
what is it? Who or what is it that has shaped your own leadership style?
I think, there's probably many answers to this, but if we take it back, grandparents and parents shape you at a young age to who you are. So my work ethic comes from that. Both my parents, workers, always make sure you show up at school every day. Never take a day off for a cold. Always put yourself there. If you need to come home, but never don't go. So my work ethic comes from my parents and my grandparents, no doubt about it. Every one of them helped me with that nature. You then get through certain people in your life. I was fortunate that I was around about sports, clubs, numerous different things as I grew up, and that drive to be better, to make yourself better, came from probably the sporting background. Because you always want to be the best. You always want to be the best you can be. So that helped me with that. So the work ethic parents, the drive to be better. But then as I worked my way through, there's various different people. My first company I went to, as you rightly said, I came through an accounts background, and I was asked to go in and work in a family business from my two great uncles, but I called them my uncles. They taught me totally different things. But it was great that that small company mentality meant that you had to do everything. You're not a one trick pony. So that helped me with the fact of saying, okay, you can't just get in and do one thing. You must wear many hats. You must be doing many things. And even now, I'm still trying to get involved in probably too much, but it's great because it showed you can't just be cellular. I then went to, my next company, and they taught me the importance of the fact that if you're paid to lead, you must lead. You can't be in the trenches doing everything yourself. You're paid to do something different. And that helped me get that. And then as I came to Cairnhill, they teach you different skill sets. I came here in the existing management team, Jack Sanderson, who was sort of my predecessor, taught me many things. He's known as Gentleman Jack. He's Jack Sanderson, OBE. Everybody knows Jack. Nobody says anything bad about Jack. You need to change your ethos, your mentality. It can't all be just about the individual. It needs to be about the overall picture. And so there's many people help me get to where I am. And each one's had their own individual bit, input to that. And I'm probably, everything in life, you've been fortunate. I've been around the right people at the right time who are willing to spend time with me, who are willing to help me get that bit better. And, I am where I am because of everything that I've learned. And I'll never stop. And the reason I became a mentor with Scottish Engineering was because I've had all these great people take time to help me. I now need to help them. The reason I became the deputy president in the BCSA and hopefully become the president is give something back. People have helped you get to where you are. You now must help the next people, the next generation, come and follow on because we are in a dying trade. We are in a dying market. You only need to look at British Steel to see the trouble the British steel industry is in. Port Talbots don't have a blast furnace, don't have an electric arc furnace. British Steel, Scunthorpe don't have anything. So we're all struggling in the steel industry. So without us working in a different mindset, don't work as competitors, work as a team that'll help us all get better.
Fantastic, fantastic. You're an incredible guy. We didn't even touch on your masters as well. So you've got the theoretical to back it all up. But Stephen, thank you so much. Sadly, we've run out of time. I'm sure maybe at some point in the future we'll do a part two because I feel there's a lot of stuff we didn't even
Yeah.
unravel within that. But yeah, thank you for saying yes to me and giving up your time. But yeah, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Cheers, man.